Hi, I'm Jenny Spinner, Chief Editor of Snack Food and Wholesale Bakery, here with,
Liz Parker, Senior Editor.
and we are trying to recover from a whirlwind visit to McCormick Place in Chicago for the 2023 edition of the Sweets and Snacks Expo. It was, I think I counted my 15th time, and Liz, it was your first time. What did you think overall?
I thought it was a lot of fun. It was in the West Hall of McCormick, which was nice because I had only been to I think it's the North Hall across the street, and that hall is like huge. Like West Hall is still pretty
Mhm.
huge, but not as like intimidating. And you walk in, it's just like a really fun atmosphere. There's like candy everywhere. There's like snack and candy signage everywhere, very colorful, things like that.
Yeah, the National Confectioners Association, which is the group that runs the event, they do a really good job of packing a lot into McCormick Place's West Hall. A little bit stretched over into the Skyline Hall, but it's a lot of fun. But it's also a really serious show. It's great for retailers, it's great for the producers, and it's great for trade editors like us who are looking to discover new products to tell our readers about, make new contacts for interviews at the show and down the road. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we saw, new products, trends, just sights and sounds.
So before we jump into that, this was, I think, the 25th or 26th year in Chicago. Like it's been in Chicago forever, but it's actually
Mhm.
moving next year. So they'll be doing 2 years in Indianapolis and then 1 year in Vegas and then repeat. So next year we'll be in Indianapolis. I've been to their convention center once, actually for a Comic-Con a while ago, and
Oh,
it's great.
awesome.
It's really huge. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it.
Yeah, I am. I'm a little bummed, and mostly for selfish reasons. So I live in Chicago, just a pretty short train ride from McCormick Place. So every time I've gone, I've just taken a train ride, relax myself, and then hop out, short walk to the convention center, and then at night hop on the train back home. Now I'm going to have to either choose between driving and flying, probably flying, and getting there that way. But having said that, Indianapolis is one of those Midwestern cities that does not get enough respect. If you've ever been, you know that it's got one of my favorite art museums, lots of really cool restaurants and other things to do. So if you ever decide to venture outside the Indianapolis Convention Center when you go to Sweets and Snacks next year, there's plenty to do. Although there's so much to do, you might not have time to leave.
Right. They
Um,
have all sorts of stuff. So I've only been there the one time.
mhm.
And I'm in the Detroit area and I would probably fly as well, but the airport is super nice. I would say it's on
Okay.
par with the Detroit airport, which is also super nice, very like modern and everything. And there's a lot of like interesting restaurants and things. There's this
Mhm.
steakhouse I've been to, not to get off track, but it was featured on
No.
Parks and Rec. I don't know if you've heard of that one, and it's kind of
Mhm.
fancy and it was really nice. But they also have like casual restaurants and things like that. So something for everyone basically. But getting into our sweets and snacks recap, the first thing I want to talk about is the Kettle Award, which is hosted by Candy Industry every year. This was the, I want to say, 46th Kettle Award, I believe. And it's
Something like
been
that.
around so long that the first recipient of the Kettle Awards was Russell Stover, like that Russell Stover.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's fun.
yeah, so pretty interesting. And it was at the Union League Club of Chicago, and it's been there for many years, I believe. So next year we'll have to find a new home in Indianapolis. And the recipient was Kirk Vashaw, who's president of Spangler Candy Company. And just to do a quick plug for candy industry, I believe we'll be visiting Spangler sometime soon. So keep a lookout for that.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. It was my first time attending the Kettle Awards, and um it was, I mean, everybody, all the nominees from Perfetti Van Mel and Esther Price were great people, but Spangler is you're probably familiar with their candy canes, Circus Peanuts, Necco wafers. They have a lot of really well respected long-standing brands, and it turns out the president Kirk is a great guy. So it was really nice to see somebody with such an accomplished career at such a beloved candy company taking the kettle home.
I actually I walked by their booth the next day and I saw they had the kettle award, which was huge. It was like this, and it's got a big kettle on the top. They had it like proudly displayed in the booth, and I saw him taking some meetings, so that was a lot of fun to see. But Jenni, you were going to talk about some innovative products you saw at the show.
Yeah, the most innovative new product award is a longstanding program that anybody exhibiting at the show, sweet snacks and lots of categories, is invited to submit their recent product releases up against their competitors. And right at the entrance to the exhibit hall, you can see them all in one place. You could also go to the exhibitor's booth and, get samples maybe for yourself. But it was a really great selection of awards. And there's a lot of big names in the running and the taking home the awards, but it's also really great to see a lot of the startups and smaller companies taking home awards. One of them is Pork Canned Good. One of the first articles I did was a pork rind category focus, and Pork Canned Good is a Wisconsin-based producer of some really cool flavors, super hot, super spicy, buttered popcorn, salt and vinegar. But this year they came out with some dessert flavors, apple cinnamon, old timey butterscotch, and things like that. So it was good to see those guys.
We just wrote about the new flavors for snack food at Wholesale Bakery, and the butterscotch won the most innovative award, or was it a runner-up, I believe?
I think it was a finalist, so runner-up.
Yep. Yeah, and that was interesting to me because I see a lot of like pork rinds, especially on like, at gas stations or like grocery store shelves, but you don't see a lot of like dessert pork rinds. Like that's something you wouldn't really think about, but I could see it being good with like the sweet, salty combo.
Well, right. I was talking to Lauren Costin, the founder of the company, and we were talking about how, pork chops typically served with applesauce. So it's really not that far afield. So yeah, really innovative. Good to see smaller companies in the running with the big guys.
Also, I was going to say, I had a HelloFresh meal once that was like pork chops with like bourbon, like apples on top, and it was great. And that was definitely like sweet, salty. Which leads us to our next topic with the Expo, better for you. So this is definitely not like a new trend. You definitely see like better for you products everywhere, but it's still holding on strong. So one of the first booths I visited was Yum Earth, and they have a line called their Ultimate line. So it involves like immunity, gut health, elderberry, ginger chews, things like that. I think when I went to ECRM in February, they gave me a sample of their elderberry lollipops, which I haven't tried yet, but I'm very curious to try. Elderberry is like a very hot flavor right now. And then they're releasing some jelly beans as well, which is like a clean line of jelly beans. So like everything's organic, no artificial flavors, things like that.
Yeah. People want healthy indulgence. That is a thing that's been going on for a while. And they don't just want to have, low calorie. They're not just avoiding ingredients. They want foods that they enjoy. And the exhibitors at Sweets and Snacks this year are definitely stepping up with some really innovative new products. One of the subcategories of better for you is low and no sugar. And there was a lot of no sugar added entries this year, and some really interesting additions. One of my personal ones I like to shout out is in the Pim Brands booth. They were showcasing their Welch's Zero Sugar fruit snacks. Sanders, a company that's local to Liz in Detroit, they had a no sugar added version of their chocolate sea salt caramels. Hershey owns the Lily's brand, which is probably at this point best known for their no sugar added chocolate bars. They introduced fruit gummies. So yay for healthy indulgence.
Sanders is great. If you look back in our archives for Snack Food and Wholesale Bakery, they had this is a side note, but they had a like brand reopening type thing for their main factory and storefront, which was like 30 minutes for me. This was back 2017 or 2016, I think. And they're known for their bumpy cake, which if you haven't had it is like it's kind of like a devil's food cake, but with like cream, like a layer of cream on top. And they wanted to break the record for the largest bumpy cake. So they had this gigantic bumpy cake on display. And they also let us try like anything we wanted in the store. So that was like a
Mhm.
Willy Wonka type day for me.
That's
That was pretty dangerous. I sampled quite a bit. Anyways, moving on. So another trend we noticed was holiday packaging, which again, nothing new, but like American Licorice Company had quite a few of these. So they're known for their red vines, kind of like Twizzlers, but red vines licorice. And they had I believe it was a cinnamon spice flavor for like Christmas
mhm.
time, and they also had a pumpkin spice flavor. And I personally am not a pumpkin spice type of girl, but I know a
Mhm.
lot of people like it, especially with Starbucks and the PSL lattes. I also visited the Pez booth for a minute, and they had a bunch of like holiday displays, things like that. I want to say Candy Riffic / Hilco also had a lot of holiday candies on display, things like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of buyers are looking to plan out the retail offerings. So you'll run into people from both big chains and mom and pop candy stores scouring for new products, but also to see because the buys around the confectionery, people are looking to buy gifts and treats for themselves around the holidays. So seeing some of the stuff that's going to be on shelves in the future was a lot of fun for us too, as journalists. Oh, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is a shout out to the National Confectioners Association for adding a new program to the sessions at Sweets and Snacks this year. They did what's called 5x5, and they did one day for sweets, one day for snacks. It was five startups or new companies. Each got 5 minutes to present to a group of buyers from companies like Harris Teeter and others, just what is so great about their products. And then the retailers, or excuse me, the buyers gave their Shark Tank like opinion. What was great about the pitch, what they liked about the product, what they would change, maybe advice they would need. And I found it really enlightening as somebody who covers the industry, but the people in the audience really responded to it because it was kind of like free consulting for 5 minutes, but about what makes their prospective customers really respond to products and pitches. I don't know, Liz, I think you got a chance to sit in on one too. So what did you think about that program?
Yeah, I saw I believe 2 or 3 of them, and then I had to run to the airport, unfortunately. One of them, and they also provided samples, which I thought was great because not only are they talking about the product, but you get to actually try it. So one of them, I haven't tried my sample yet, but it was like a summer sausage stick. But what was unique about it was like thinner, like a traditional meat stick. So that I'm excited to try. And then another one had a really interesting consistency, and I forget the name of the brand, but it was like vegan, gluten-free, because as I was eating this, I was like, should I be having my Lactaid right now? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to like run, but she said it's vegan, it's gluten-free. I forget if it was keto friendly. It's definitely more of like a better for you snack, and the flavors had like fun names. So one of them was like midnight pizza rolls or something like that, or like pizza roll snack, and it was more of like a puffed thing. I forget the name of the company, but it was very good. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. I think I saw 2 or 3 out of the 5, and then unfortunately I had to leave, but definitely an interesting thing for sweets and snacks.
Yeah, that is really cool. Another thing we saw at the show, and Liz talk about this, was partnerships between candy brands. And some there were things like we wrote about Jack Link's and Doritos having a Doritos flavored jerky, but there were some other interesting partnerships that Liz picked up on, and I'll let her tell you about it.
So a big thing I saw here and also at ECRM in February was it's the not Disney World, but Disney Company's 100th anniversary. So a lot of brands are doing partnerships with them. The most notable ones being Pez. They're doing some like silver Mickey Pez dispensers, which was fun. And Candy Riffic and Hilco were doing a lot of Disney 100 partnerships. But I believe at ECRM I saw even more of those. I can't recall which companies right now. So a lot of people are doing that. And then, as you said, like a lot of mashups, I would say, like Jack Links and things like that.
Yeah, that was really interesting. And Disney is a fun partner, I have heard. When you're looking to have things branded with Disney, they're very exacting. So having a Disney product with coming out in your brand is, it speaks well to your company if it's getting approved. So good job, guys.
I can tell you, it's not the Disney World, Walt Disney World 100th, because I have a cup from like the 90s and it says 25 on it, and I know they just hit their 50th
Oh
anniversary
yeah.
for either the Disney World or Disneyland. But anyways, I felt very old when I heard that because I had the cup.
Oh
25.
yeah, I went to Disney World when I was in high school for their, I'm not going to say what anniversary it is because then you'll know how ancient and decrepit I am, but yeah, Disney's not going anywhere, so there'll be many anniversaries in the future to make us feel even older. So
and then on the opposite spectrum, we had some brands that were offering limited time offers. So like get it now, it might not always be around. Although there are some instances where something will be such a fan favorite that they will bring it back as like a permanent offering. But Kit Kat, which is Hershey, I believe, they came out with a new churro flavor. And they've found that offering limited time offer snacks or flavors will actually increase consumers' interest in the brand, which makes sense. Like I know we also wrote about Kit Kat doing like a blueberry muffin flavor, like flavors that are interesting that you might not have seen in confectionery. And they sent us home with a very nice bag of samples that I've been working my way through a little too fast. But one of them was the churro Kit Kat, and I found it really interesting. It kind of had like a creamy flavor and definitely some like churro notes.
yeah, churro is one of those flavors that I think we're going to be seeing a lot more in snacks and candy in coming months. There were a couple companies, I want to say, oh, Flips. Flips is also, they have a limited time State Fair line, consists of strawberry shortcake and churro, which if you're like me, you've eaten more than your share of churros at on fairgrounds. So yeah, it's interesting to see that there's a lot of limited time that creates a sense of urgency. If you're a fan of a brand, or you see something that's just not going to be around for very long, and you're one of those people that likes to try new things, that might get you to trial more than something that's just like, hey, this is a new thing. You've got all the time in the world to eat it. So
Right.
another thing that I noticed at this year's show, so meat snacks, jerky, beef sticks, they're huge. Jerky's been around for a long time, but there are trends like high protein diets, keto, paleo, that make meat a hot commodity right now. And one of the things I noticed, there seem to be a lot more exhibitors in that category, but also different types. Like we've got traditional brands like Conagra, Slim Jim, Old Trapper. They've been around for quite a long time. But then we're seeing Strive come out with Biltong, Vacadillos, Carne Seca. It's a dry, air-dried beef that's sliced really thin. So it has like a different mouthfeel and texture. So lots of meat snacks. And that is a trend that's probably going to continue. So let's keep an eye out for that.
I also saw Country Archer was there. I don't know if you've ever tried them, and they have it's either low sugar or like no sugar added meat sticks, so that's kind of keeping with the better for you trend. I think it was jerky, actually, beef jerky. I didn't get to try it, but I saw they had samples out. Speaking of which, I was casually taking like a lap around the perimeter, stuffing my face with Dippin' Dots. Actually, I had been waiting all day to try Dippin' Dots over in the corner, and they had these little snack packs. But anyways, so I walked by a booth, and whenever I would walk by and something would catch my attention, I would stop and look. And there was a company that had chicken skin crisps, which was interesting. I haven't seen that before. Like I've definitely seen like, pork rinds or like thinner porkrinds, but I was like chicken skin. So I'm looking, and they had all sorts of flavors. And the one I grabbed a sample of was Hattie B's Nashville hot chicken. If you haven't been to Nashville and you like hot chicken, Hattie B's is great. I went there a couple years ago. I personally can't do spicy, but the people I was with, they all loved it. So I thought that was an interesting partnership. And I think the person at the booth was like, here, try some right now. And I'm like, I can't. I have ice cream that I'm eating, but I picked that up to share with people, and I found that pretty interesting.
Yeah, there are a couple brands that are doing interesting things with chicken. Wild, don't I think it's WILDE. I'll look it up and I'll post on LinkedIn later. But yeah, they had crisps at the show that were a combination of like egg white and chicken and protein, and chicken and waffles flavored, which is pretty bright idea because chicken and waffles, it's a popular favorite. Another thing that we noticed, I'm gonna let Liz start, but nostalgia
Right.
things. Yeah, I'll let you do it.
I was just gonna say, someone said the term nostalgia, not nostalgia, nostalgia, and I'm like, what is nostalgia? So it's basically taking nostalgic snacks and candy, but making it like fresh or hot, like putting like a spin on it. When I say hot, I mean popular, not spicy. So I can tell you like Bit O Honey by Spangler. So for the Kettle Awards, we asked the 3 companies who had people nominated to send some candy samples, and Spangler sent Bit O Honey. And we also wrote about this recently. They updated the packaging. So it looks like modern packaging, but Bit O Honey has been around for a while. So basically taking something, and we also talked about this at Keebler, I believe, like taking something like Ernie the Elf, but like kind of, and I don't think Ernie has changed. I actually asked about that. Ernie has not aged, he's ageless, but
Yeah,
the packaging has changed like over the years. So something like pecan sandies, things like that, like marketing it to today's consumers.
Yeah, there's a lot of examples of candy that's been around forever. Like Bit of Honey, I associate with my grandfather. That was one of his favorite candies. And it's interesting seeing how the new packaging will resonate, because it's a bit of a refresh designed to connect with, people younger than me, Gen Xer. But the brand really resonates with me because I have fond memories of it, eating it as a kid with Grandpa Joe. In that nostalgia category, I think it was Liz I was talking to, it might have been another coworker a couple weeks ago, about if I could resurrect any discontinued candy or snack brand, it was the Reggie bar. Sold from the late 70s. It disappeared from the shelves in like 1981, something like that, when I was, still a youngster in Garanimals. It had a brief revival about 30 years ago or so, and then disappeared. So I was walking towards the back of the exhibit hall and I came across the familiar square packaging. It's a bar, but it's like a patty, more like a patty. And when I saw that, I think I scared the nice gentleman, I think his name was Fred, at the booth, because I was so excited. It was like I had just had a genie grant my wish, because this is something that I remembered. It was my favorite thing. I spent a lot of allowance candy on it, and they are bringing it back. I will hopefully share the story as that brand grows and progresses. But imagine seeing your favorite childhood pet just like all of a sudden, like before you again. This is the candy of my childhood that I'd literally wished to bring back. And it's interesting thing, if there is a new Netflix series called Fubar, Arnold Schwarzenegger, typical spy stuff, but there's a gag that I'm not going to spoil for anybody that actually involves the retro candy, and it's like they predicted its return. So yeah, I'm as not to get too consumery, but I'm way excited that this my beloved candy is back.
Maybe they got like a heads up or something like that. That could have been
Maybe.
interesting. So moving on to products, obviously
Yeah,
we saw a lot of interesting new or new again products. At the Ferrara booth, they showed me a lot of their new products, but one of which is they're doing Wonka gummies. And I actually just ate these yesterday and they're very cute. They're like purple and they're like hat shaped, like how Willy Wonka's hat. And it's in partnership with the new Wonka movie. And I'm a huge movie fan, so I will be seeing this one. Timothy Chalamet is playing Wonka because it's a prequel. So that was really interesting, I thought.
Yeah, there were a couple fun things like that, like the cute little signature Willy Wonka purple hat. Brock's has had Elf, the Will Ferrell movie, tie, and they came out with swirly twirly gumdrops. which if you've watched the movie 92 million times, you will recognize that line. So yeah, the tie-ins are a hot thing, and the Wonka gummies were super cute. Liz, you've got a bunch of new candy stuff that you're excited to talk about, so I'll let you go
Yeah.
on.
So when I was walking the show, occasionally I would get questions. I would have a meeting and then I'd get questions and they would say, what have you seen that's new or novel? And this is the product that I kept talking up. It's Sour Punch Roulette from American Licorice Company. And I have not actually tried this yet, disclaimer, but I'm hoping to, maybe after this video. And what's so interesting about it, if you've ever heard of like Bertie Bott's every flavor beans from Harry Potter, you don't know where you're going to get. So you might get like a nice chocolate flavored bean, or you might get one that's flavored like earwax or something. And in Harry Potter, it was like actually like that. Obviously, in the real world, they don't use earwax to make it. But if you look at the packaging, it says pickle roulette. Oop, there we go. Pickle roulette taste test to try your odds, or taste to test your odds. Pickle flavored straws hidden in every pack. So you don't know if you're the licorice straw you're going to eat is pickle, or your other choices are, it could be green apple, lemon lime, or watermelon. So it is truly like roulette. I'd be very curious to know like how many pickle straws are actually in the pack versus like the other ones. So I thought that was like really fun. We actually wrote about that right before the show as well, and they had them at the booth. So they're like, take one, take one. So I thought that was one of the most innovative products I saw.
Yeah, it's really you mentioned Bertie Bott's every flavor beans, the pickle roulette. There's a couple examples of candy is fun. Candy is a lot of fun, and candy I mean, not everybody shares their candy, but I mean, when you've got a multi-pack, you've got, multiple pieces you can share with your friends. This adds another level of interactivity with it. It's a bit of a prank, although hopefully you're not just like, here, eat these jelly beans, to your friends.
Yeah.
So I will say though, Jelly Belly, I'm a fan of the dirt flavored Bertie Bott's beans. So if you were to just launch those and have I might actually buy them, but I'm weird. Another thing that Liz is going to tell you about is something that I was excited to see, having a lot of friends who eat vegan. Yeah, Liz, go ahead.
So one of the other trends we saw at the show was plant-based items. Zing, which I believe is another American Licorice Company brand, they had a lot of plant-based things they sent me home with. And Hershey is going big with plant-based. So they're really releasing plant-based bars as well as Reese's plant-based. And I had the opportunity to try the Reese's one. And the difference is it's made with oat milk instead of regular milk, I believe. And it was very good. Like it still tasted like a Reese's cup to me. Like if you gave me a Reese's cup and you gave me a plant-based one, you can definitely tell there's a little bit of a difference, but like the inside tastes the same. It's just the outside that tastes a little bit different. So I'm really curious to see if these will resonate with vegan consumers or people who are trying to cut back on dairy.
Yeah, it's good news for any of your hippie friends who don't eat don't drink dairy milk. There are some offerings in places like Whole Foods has had vegan chocolate for a bit, but it's really cool seeing the bigger brands. It just broadens the opportunities. Something that my vegan and Jewish friends are looking forward to is an increase in the use of non-animal gelatins in gummies and whatnot, because there's vegan marshmallows, there's some vegan gummies around, but broadening that would just make it easier to share treats with your friends who have dietary or religious concerns like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know there's definitely vegan marshmallows. I've had that before, which makes it kosher. Because sometimes, I think all the time, gelatin is usually made with animal parts, so not entirely vegan or kosher. But switching gears, you saw some new flavored peanuts you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, so one of the entries into the most innovative new product awards was a company with a cool story. Henrietta said, playing Vanna White here. I'll throw out the picture too, so you can see it better. But so this company has been around for a while. They've been in the bulk nut business for decades, more than 4 decades, I believe. This is their first retail product, and I thought it was interesting, and clearly the voters and the most innovative new product running thought it was interesting. I think it's cool because they're having, I mean, there's flavors that you might have seen like buffalo and whatnot. I am a fan of the lemon pepper as an idea, because lemon pepper is a wing variety that Chicagoans
Yep.
love. I'm a big fan of. So it's flavors that are new to a lot of people and familiar to some other people. So that's that'll be interesting to see how people respond to that.
That's interesting. Yeah, because if you told me lemon pepper, I would say, yeah, that's like a wing flavor, like a dry rub. So
Yeah.
should be interesting. Speaking of new flavors, most people are probably familiar with High Chew, which is made by Morinaga America. So this month they came out with High Soft Caramel Bites, and it is new in the US, but fun fact, it was the flagship product for Morinaga America in Japan, where it's based. And I got to try it and it was very good. It was very chewy, typical caramel taste that you would expect. So this is the first time it's the brand is going to be Morinaga America. It's not going to be under the High Chew line, but it's going to be called High Soft. So similar branding in that way.
Yeah, there's I haven't tried those yet, but it'll be interesting to see. It's always kind of interesting when a company that is known for one thing branches out. So High Chew is known for their fruit chews. Now they have caramel. You might be familiar with a company called Unique Snacks. It's a long-standing pretzel brand. We've written about their entry into the extruded category of puffsals. They hearken to the company's history by being in a pretzel shape, but puffed, extruded, lots of fun flavors. Another recent addition to the candy field is something that we've written about, but it was being handed out at the first time at the show. Liz, take it away.
So we also met with Mars Wrigley at the show, and they have a lot of new flavor innovations. Like their Twix brand just came out with a cookie dough flavor, I believe, or sometime recently. But one thing they were showcasing was their M&M's caramel cold brew. So I am not a coffee person. I've just never liked the taste, and they said you have to try it. You have to try it. So I tried it, and I've always liked the M&M caramel. So you get that caramel flavor, and there is like a hint of cold brew flavor. So I would have probably continued eating it, to be polite, but they were like, how does it taste? And I said, it tastes like cold brew, like caramel cold brew, which is obviously what they're aiming for. So that was really interesting. And I think they're aiming to get more like millennials and Gen Z consumers involved, like trying out that flavor.
Yeah, it's I mean, as somebody that grew up with exactly two varieties of M&Ms, plain peanut, it's interesting to see the expansion and innovation in that brand and others. Having tried it, it was one of the first things I ate at one night at the show. It tastes like a caramel macchiato. So well done on the mad development wizards that came up with that product. Before we go, I had one last thing. So you might say, well, why should I go to Sweets and Snacks? These things will just be on retail shelves soon. I can just read Snack Food and Wholesale, Bakery, and Candy Industry to see what was at the show. Why travel to Chicago? Well, there's something to be said for being one of the first people to try something new. If you go around the show floor, there are things that are not out of just like fresh out of the R&D lab. They're not even in retail packaging. So you will get things like this. What is this? It is something that is so new that they didn't even have the prototype packaging at the company that will be named later. You get a chance as a journalist or just as an attendee to try something before anybody else, and it's a privilege and really a lot of fun to be the guinea pig for new products that are in development, things that might be hitting the shelf in a month, 6 months, they might not even be retail ready. But this, having tried this, I can say it's a chip. You can tell it's a chip from the pillow bag. But it's something that I think I'll be excited to write about it. Because it's innovative and on trend, I'm trying not to give a spoiler alert, but it's one of the many things that people like me who attended the show got to try and get to look forward to or watch as they progress along the path of commercialization. It's a privilege.
I know what you're talking about, and I haven't tried them yet, but the packaging was interesting because it was definitely, generic pillow bag, nothing yet. I think I shared them with my mom, and she really liked them. And to add to your chips promo, I would say it's like a better for you type snack as a teaser. But yes, so it's interesting, like as a journalist, we get snacks all the time, which is good, although dangerous for the waistline. But there was one company that sent me, it was like, I believe it was like frozen cauliflower bites or like frozen appetizer, and they didn't have the packaging yet. So it was literally in like baggies, like with the the company logo on it, which was a lot of fun. But I think that's all we have for time today, right?
Yeah, we've taken up a lot of time. This is one of our longer videos, but there was a lot to see at Sweets and Snacks this year. And you'll be seeing us write about some of the things, including the super secret snack that I just held up in the coming months. If you went to Sweets and Snacks and you saw something really interesting that you'd like to talk about or tell us about, you can either respond to our LinkedIn, Snack Food and Wholesale Bakery, candy industry, or you can send me an email at spinnerj@bnpmedia.com. I'd love to talk about it. I love to talk sweets and snacks. But yeah, we have work to do. I'm sure that the busy snack and candy people that are watching this have stuff to do. So we're just going to say goodbye, and we look forward to seeing you again sometime soon.
Yep. See you next time.